You should dislike and resist Justin Trudeau and his government to the maximum extent of your ability.
That more people around the world are envy of us for than anything else is Canadians ourselves.
Yes, let's talk about Canada and Dr. Carlson. Recently, Canada ruling party want to criminalize speech made by Tucker Carlson and target those who attended his speech as domestic terrorists.
You brought up Pierre Poilievre's name in your comments. I mean, is this going to be your strategy effectively going forward, is tying Pierre Poilievre to Trump?
He wants to be Prime Minister of this country. What happened last night is not acceptable. Is he going to condemn that? If he wants to run for Prime Minister, he should have the courage to condemn those. It's not acceptable in our country.
So is that going to be your strategy?
People attended, sir. I mean, what do you make of the fact that there is an audience for it and for their perspective?
Well, as I said in French, the extreme right politics, don't ask the question if it's coming to Canada. It's already here. And they're bringing it.
This should clearly tells you everything about Canada. Justin Trudeau made it clear that the war is jealous of.
You should dislike and resist Justin Trudeau and his government to the maximum extent of your ability. But before you do that, you should just laugh at him until you can't breathe. Seriously. The guy's like, he's showing up for a costume party when no one else is. There's no costume party, and there's Justin Trudeau. Like speaking as some sort of moral voice. Weird little cross-dresser. So anyway, that's my first piece of advice.
Dr. Carlson is in Canada, and things are not actually good. Taking a look at the ruling party, the decision they want to take up against millions of people who attended this conference should tell you a lot. Tucker Carlson unleashed in Canada. Take a look at what they are doing to you, a Christian. People who pray for their enemies. Who does that? Who will pray for an enemy? No one except for Christian. If you are on the side of burning churches, you are on the wrong side.
Keep going! I'm out of control! Unleashed in Canada! The last thing I'll say, which also may be controversial because it sounds like a parochial concern or some sort of, weird religious thing or something, and it's not. But take a look at what they're doing to your Christians. And I say this for I am a Christian, but that's not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because there's kind of no more inoffensive and peaceful group in the world than the Christians. In fact, there isn't. Their religion tells them, commands them to turn the other cheek and to put the concerns of others above their own concerns. So if you have a problem with those precepts, explain it to me. Speak slowly so I can understand. I think every person in this room, regardless of your faith, can agree, yeah, I'm for that. I wish I was more like that. That's good. We need more of those people in society. Serve others for the sake of service. People who pray for their enemies. Who does that? Who would pray for an enemy? No one, except the Christians, and they do. They're commanded to. So if you're hassling that group, maybe you've got another agenda that we should be concerned about, even if we're not in that group. If we burn 90 of their churches to the ground, and the Prime Minister and his little weird buddies are endorsing that, burning churches, if you're on the side of burning churches, let me just say, I don't need any other facts of the case, you're on the wrong side. If you're throwing preachers in prison for preaching the Christian gospel, not for hurting anyone, not for making pipe bombs, not for trying to castrate other people's children, not for importing millions of people into your country who are not going to have work, just for the crime of preaching the Christian gospel, you go to jail at the same time when they're encouraging your kids to do drugs, and not just fentanyl, but weed. Don't raise your hand if you have a 15-year-old son, but come up to me after and tell me what you think of legalized weed. For real. And if you have a 15-year-old son, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They did that to you and to your son on purpose. And so in a country like that, in a world like that, if you think that preaching the gospel is so dangerous that the people who do it need to be in prison in shackles, you're serving someone other than the people of Canada, if you know what I mean. That's really scary. And I don't care how much they dress it up in the passive-aggressive, self-help language of the modern left. Well, it's really about public safety. Every time I turn on your freaking television shows, everything's about public safety, which is a euphemism for hard-edged fascism, actually. And frankly, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the old-fashioned variety, where guys in tight uniforms goose-step through your town, because at least you know who you're fighting. And you know what it's going to take to liberate your town. Get rid of these people and everything will be okay. But when they show up and they're therapists with advanced degrees, and they look at you in the face and say, no, actually, little Dylan just needs more fentanyl. Little Dylan's actually a girl. And we're going to, yes, he's a girl. Sorry, she's a girl. She's a girl. And if you don't agree, well, maybe we may have to remove Dylan to more care-affirming custody. Oh, you're going to take my kids away because I don't want to castrate them. They'll never say that, of course, because clear language is their enemy, because clear language exposes who they really are. They're not people who are trying to help you. They are people who are trying to hurt you. Anyone who goes after your children, anyone who encourages you to have fewer children is trying to make you extinct. It's literally that simple. And it's only in the advanced West that we don't see that. Try that.
Yes, before Tucker Carlson's speech, something happened. Judge rebuked Trudeau for not justifying use of Emergency Act to break convoy. If you have been following my channel for some time, you realize I did a lot of videos during that period of the trucker convoy. Going down this article recently published by The Guardian, a Canadian court has ruled that Justin Trudeau government was not justified when it used sweeping powers to break up what the Prime Minister called illegal and dangerous protest blockade across the country 2 years ago. A federal court found on Tuesday the government invocations of the Emergency Act in response to the so-called Freedom Convoy protest was not justified in relation to the relevant factual and legal constraints that were required to be taken into consideration. In his decision, Justice Richard wrote that the move was unreasonable and led to infringement of Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedom. In February 2022, truckers and their supporters occupied Ottawa, the Canadian capital, for nearly a month in protest over public health orders related to the COVID pandemic. Protesters also blockaded key border crossings with the U.S. Trudeau responded by invoking the 1988 Emergency Act for the first time in Canada history, granting the federal government sweeping powers, including the ability to ban gathering at certain locations and stop crowdfunding efforts to support the protest. The Prime Minister said the measure would be time-limited and only apply to specific geographical regions. We are not preventing the right of people to protest legally, he said, adding that the military will not be deployed. The act is to be used springly and a last resort. So you can see exactly what happened. Justin Trudeau's decision to bring out this Emergency Act was insane. I saw a lot of people arrested. Some are even in prison. Some are in court. So they should be able now to, release all these people. Those facing court issues, everything should be terminated because it is insane. And I'm glad this came out. Tucker Carlson just went, to unleash, speak against what Trudeau is doing. And now they are getting offended and calling all sorts of names.